Ladies and gentlemen, I am concerned about the economy, but not concerned in the way that you might think. Yes, Bitcoin and the stock market are at or near all-time highs. I'm not concerned about the economy today, but there is something right around the corner that we should all take a look at. Let's go ahead and break it down. Now, I know my voice sounds a little less chipper and energetic, because there is something around the corner. No, it's not a scary tactic or anything like that, but it is something that we should absolutely pay attention to. And it's something that I know that you do know about in the back of your mind. The problem is, I don't think enough people have it at the front of their mind. The thing is the US debt. Now, yes, we have covered the US debt. We have talked about it a little bit before. We talked a little bit about it here. But here's the problem. Here's what makes it different. Remember, just a few years ago, we had this huge fight in Congress about whether or not we were going to fund the US government. It was the first time that we even gotten close around defaulting on the US debt. And if you don't pay your bills as a country, your money doesn't matter anymore. Okay, your retirement, your 401k, your US dollar will not mean a thing. Okay, that is absolute disaster for every single American. Every person who holds a US dollar, it ain't gonna matter anymore. Okay, that is the absolute end of the cliff. Okay, so let's take a step back from there. What does that matter for us right now, and why am I so concerned? That is because the incoming administration is wanting to do a major tax cut. Now, you might be thinking, hey, do you want to pay higher taxes? Do you enjoy your tax bill, so on and so forth? No, I don't. Okay, I don't enjoy paying high taxes. My tax bill that I just had to pay was $25,000. Okay, I had to cut that check. It wasn't fun. I didn't enjoy it. Okay, now that was the lowest tax. I got a good accountant. Okay, so that was the lowest that we had to pay, and we had some nice tax tricks to do that because it could have been a lot higher. All right, but why is that such a bad thing? Here's the issue here. Okay, and this is basic math. All right. The way that the government makes money, the way that we are funded, defense, healthcare, Social Security, all of that stuff is through income taxes. Right now, it is through income taxes, all right? So they pull in income taxes, they make money, they spend money on things, and obviously we're spending too much. Either we're spending too much or we're not making enough money. You take that however side of the coin that you want to choose to look at today, all right? Now, if we cut taxes, that is going to raise the U.S. debt. That has consistently happened since President Bush, when he implemented, I believe it was the tax cut of 2001. Okay? We have charts that show this. You can go back and check the records yourself. President Clinton had a balanced budget. All right? When President Bush got in office, he cut taxes. We started to have debt. Now, part of this was also the wars that we went into because that was absolutely far too expensive. So Bush cut taxes, started a war. That was expensive. We got into debt. Obama extended those taxes. So we started not having as much money, and we kept cutting our own salary and kept spending more money on stuff being wars. Then we had President Trump, who cut taxes more with the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017, which is the current tax code we're under now. If they go back in and cut taxes even more, what do you think is going to happen? We're going to lower our national income more and go even deeper into debt, which means that in 2026, come midterms, if there is a change in guard, there is going to be an even bigger fight around the debt ceiling and whether or not we're going to default on our debt yet again. And that $1 trillion number, it is multi-trillion dollars and it's changing every single second, so I'm not going to quote the exact number, it's going to get a whole lot worse. Now, how is this going to be resolved? Or you might be thinking, well, if we cut taxes, that means you can spend more and that's going to help boost the economy. Not exactly. Not exactly. It can help to, quote, boost the economy, but it will not necessarily help the national debt. That is because you spending more money on stuff can help to boost my business. It can help to even create more jobs per se, but it's not necessarily going to help the tax code or help the income tax situation if you're paying still less taxes. Right? It's not sales tax where I can buy more stuff, my income is still the same. right? So that's not really going to help necessarily. So if if my income tax, or my income is 100,000, right, and I'm taxed, I'm only keeping 80,000. Well, okay, you cut my income tax to zero, and now I have 100,000. Okay, I'm spending on all the stuff. You're not getting any of it. Me spending is giving money to everybody else but you. Okay, so the federal government is not going to benefit necessarily. Now, my state government, who charges sales tax, will get a benefit from that. Companies will get a benefit from that. The federal government doesn't necessarily get a benefit from that. And we know this. We know this because the Tax Cut and Jobs Act did not help the federal government decrease that debt, did it? We saw that also from the tax cut from 2001, the Bush tax cut, and the extension that Obama did as well. It didn't help. We've seen it for the past 20 some odd years. We can see it. Okay, we can see that cutting taxes doesn't necessarily lower the debt. It can help to grow the economy, but the math part of it doesn't. You cutting your salary does not help you get out of any debt. Would you look at your account right now? Do you want to cut your salary? And if so, is that going to help you reduce your debt? The answer is no. Okay. Now, I will also tell you that it is not a perfect analogy between your personal finances and the U.S. government. Okay. It's not a perfect analogy. It is not a perfect analogy. I will admit that it is not a perfect analogy. However, it does roughly apply here. Okay. That's not how they make their money, by you spending money elsewhere. Okay. That's not exactly how it works. But there are some other things that you do really want to pay attention to. Are they going to just replace income taxes altogether? Is that a solution? Because think about it like that. Cool, we'll reduce, or we'll just take out income taxes and we'll replace it with tariffs. Because if I do that, that means that when you do spend, I'll give you more money to spend. When you do spend, I will collect money that way. Well, for you to do that, you would need to put in a tariff of 200% if you want to hit the exact same funding amount. Okay, you can put in a tariff right now, but it's not going to be the same amount that we need to actually run the government. And you cannot cut spending to a degree where that's going to make sense. Remember, the vast majority of our spending comes from what? Defense. You cannot cut Social Security, you cannot cut Medicare and stuff like that. You may be saying, why is that the case? Remember, old people vote. Okay, and you are there because those old people put you in office. That is the most reliable voting block. And remember, too, think of it. You pay Social Security taxes. Okay, you pay Medicare, all that stuff that you actually pay. You would be quite upset. You've been paying for all these years. You get there, you don't get that benefit. You are going to the voting booth and you're going to make somebody pay. All right, am I lying? Am I lying? All right, so you can try to cut that if you want. You're absolutely going to pay in that very next election cycle. So they're very hesitant to do that. You obviously don't want to cut defense and all that kind of type of stuff. So with that being said, you have to increase these tariffs by 200%. 200% if you want to hit the same level of funding and absolutely eliminate income taxes. Now, most people don't know how tariffs work. That is the issue. Now, as someone who stayed awake in econ class, got a degree in econ, I'm going to tell you right now, there are a lot of people on the news. Most of them aren't business experts. Most of them didn't go to school for econ, do not understand how tariffs work. I'm going to give you a super simple and brief explanation. The importing company pays a tariff to the U.S. Treasury. They will pass that cost on to you. There is no business that says, hey, I'm going to have an increased cost. I'm just going to eat that cost. That really does not happen. They say, hey, I have to pay a higher cost. I'm just going to increase it by X percent. That means that you, me, and everybody else, if they are importing stuff from other countries, other components, we talked about this last time when we talked about tariffs, whatever you're paying, multiply it by 2. Now, the idea here is either A, that's going to help us to replace that, and the Treasury's going to get that money. We can fund stuff that way, but you don't like inflation. And yes, you can have more money in your pocket, but that's going to get eaten up very, very, very quickly. That's not going to help. Or you can say, hey, I don't want to buy stuff that's made in China or these other places, and you're going to buy things here in the U.S. that you assume are going to be cheaper. Problem is, it is not going to be cheaper. Here is why it is not going to be cheaper. That ain't how business works. That is not how business works. Number one, we don't always have the infrastructure here in the U.S. to build those same things here than we did there. How do we know that? We know that because you saw it in 2021 and during the pandemic, especially in 2020. We had all those supply chain issues. There were companies like Hershey that did quite well. Go back and check the videos that we did on Hershey. And I said what? One of the things that made Hershey very, very good is because they had their own supply chain here in the US. In the US, not internationally, not to say they don't have an operation internationally, but because they had most of their operations here, they did quite well. They had all their stuff locally to have their things running. But companies like Nike that had their things overseas, they had a very difficult time producing and getting their stuff out. Well, how long does it take to build a factory and move all of your things back here? That takes years to pull off. It is expensive to pull off. That's not something that's going to be flipped within a switch. So how much debt are you getting into as a country while you are doing that? How much money are you spending as a consumer while you are doing that and you are making those tariffs? Not something that is really going to work, and the debt is really going to increase if you just cut off income taxes and increase the majority of goods, not all, but the majority of goods while you're doing that, while you're forcing companies to build things indoors, right, or within your own borders. Now, not to say that you should build more things, that we should have the infrastructure here, because we should. It's also what the CHIPS Act was for, to build a lot of those semiconductor chips here in the US, because there are some things we absolutely should do here, okay? And we should have more capable supply chains here, okay? So we should do some things absolutely here, but a 200% tariff to force that to happen might not be the best thing, and to replace all those income taxes to do so might not be the best thing for the deficit. So here is the big thing. To force all this stuff through, if it happens, and to have a debt ceiling fight yet again and come to the last day or 48 hours before the deadline, is something that downgraded the debt last time. You saw the record. Okay, I don't have to make it up. This happened. Okay, it downgraded debt, which means we had to pay more interest, which is going to keep us in debt as a country much longer. Okay, that is the thing I'm concerned about for the economy in the future, the very near future, because it's already near the end of 2024. How are we going to deal with that? And what do we do now? Right now, go ahead and continue making your money. Most importantly, though, you got to stay informed. And what I mean by informed, other than subscribing to the channel, is continue to follow, read, and educate yourself through people and books, actual books of people who actually know what they're talking about, not just influencers. Now, you may be saying, well, you're an influencer, you're on YouTube, you're on Instagram, aren't you just an influencer? Maybe you can throw me in that category. However, I have degrees and experience in these fields. You can go and verify those things and go and read the books that I've read, or go and read the books that I've written, or the news articles that I've written, or the places that I've been featured in, or all of those things. Or you can check the receipts here. You can do all those things, right? There are people who say, well, tariffs are not a tax and you, the consumer, don't pay. That's not how it works. That's not how it works at all, right? So I want you to be educated so that you can make more informed decisions and make sure that your money is in the right places. But right now, you just continue to diversify and make money in the places that make the most sense right now, which we have covered and we are going to continue to cover. I have a video that I'm getting ready for tomorrow about the best stocks for the incoming administration. So we're going to be in the right places, and it's also why every 6 months, and every month for that matter, we come out with a new video on what to look for, and we start to make those adjustments in advance. But it is something that I do want just on your radar, okay? Nothing happening right now. You don't have to panic right now. But I do want you to be informed and just keep your eye on it if things develop in that way. Okay, just keep your eye on it. Speaking of things to keep your eye on, these are some videos that you want to watch next. Don't forget to check out our members only. Got something special coming up for them as well. All right, I'll catch y'all next time. Bye.